First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me, and it is a pleasure to join you for this conference. And thank you very much for Christina for all administrative tasks. I think she did a great job with sending us emails with all organizational things. My name is Angelina, and I'm a PhD candidate at Peking University in Beijing, China. But due to the pandemics, the PhD program is held online. So actually, the good news are that I'm allowed to go to China soon, but I'm based currently in Europe, in Germany now. And I'm doing my PhD online. So I chose to research on the use and impact of technology for learning Chinese because, first of all, I'm a learner myself. And secondly, in the Graduate School of Education, my research topic is education digitalization. So I'm very much into the digitalization of everything related to secondary education and language learning as well. So I hope you can see my next slide is about content. So I will briefly talk why I chose this topic and who I am and what is the research question specifically for this research and which methodology I used to achieve it, literature review on gaming and intelligent tutoring systems, and results of my research and further steps. So as I said, I'm based in Germany, but I'm doing my PhD online. Hopefully I can go to China soon, but this topic specifically on learning Chinese through gaming and intelligent tutoring systems was inspired by this beautiful lady. Unfortunately, that's not me. That's a blogger on China. She's doing great marketing for European companies going and doing business in China, Ashley, and I met her this year in Düsseldorf. And through her presentation, she said that a lot of her office assistants, younger ones, learn Chinese through gaming. And as a researcher, I decided to dig deeper into this topic. I'm a polyglot myself. I speak 5 languages and just now started to learn German, so it will be my 6th language. And as I've already said, I have a very deep interest in education technology, how it can empower the learning process and learning language specifically. And education digitalization, this is another area of my research. So it boosted very much during the pandemic. Of course, that was rather forced, but needed step for improving our education system. So my next research and hopefully PhD thesis will be on that one. And education, why is it so important? I have another article on that. I have a soft power as a policy rationale for international education in China, but actually education as a soft power tool, many countries have it, also in the West, and you can see if we analyze Professor Nye's soft power index, the top countries who are using different tools of soft power like education, diplomacy, culture, but many others are the United States, UK, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. We also see all around the world language centers like Alliance Française and DAD, and all English language centers are distributed. But if analyzing China before the pandemic, the soft power of China was pretty low in comparison to other countries, but it improved with the time. So we see there is a chance. And going back to this specific review of technology for learning Chinese, so I analyzed 3 questions. Which technologies, from games, gamification techniques, or intelligent tutoring systems, are used so far in learning Chinese? Secondly, what characteristics like motivation, self-efficacy, progress, effectiveness, learning satisfaction, these technologies are enhancing, meaning what are characteristic mostly meant in the papers I'll go through, and what is the future research in this field. And I chose a systematic review to analyze studies from Science Direct and Scopus databases. I chose the period from 2016 to 2022 because previously there were already a few systematic reviews done on this topic, so I decided to continue. And I chose these 2 databases because these are quite large ones with high-level journals. And the keywords I used to search for the specific journals is Chinese language and game, Chinese language and gamification, Chinese language and intelligent tutoring system. So there were more than 7,000 of papers selected, more than 6,000 from Science Direct, and more than 150 from the Scopus. So I went through their titles, I went through their abstracts, and in the end, I went through their content and body of the paper to focus only on those mentioning learning Chinese language, since most of them were devoted to just education or just learning or other topics, but I was focusing mostly on learning Chinese language. And another important issue for me was to get access through my Peking account. So if I could not access the main body of the paper, I would not use it. Fortunately, there were only 1 or 2 like this. So in the end, I selected 12 papers from Science Direct and 17 research from Scopus. If talking about literature review on gaming, it is mostly related to motivation and emotional process of it. A lot of research is done, of course, in a school or university setting or in experiment setting, so that gaming or intelligent tutoring system is specifically designed for specific class. It could be a language learning class or any other. But the purpose of the design of this EdTech is to test the specific hypothesis, probably on students' engagement or motivation, and to see the impact of games or ITC on students' results. So this is that the majority of research is focusing on. So it helps the student, like gaming and ITC, that help to dive into the learning process and use the language for interaction. Both techniques are used in massive open online courses or MOOC. And as I already said, the majority of study focus on the effectiveness of these techniques, on their impact on students' motivation and attitude. There are studies that analyze correlation between motivation, self-efficacy, process of flow, so that student is so engaged that it's just flowing into the learning process. And there are some studies that assess numerically, quantitatively, the impact of motivation or self-efficacy that can be assessed also, but not so many. And some studies point effects on peer learning and social interactions. And also, of course, satisfaction from the process is important and making educational process more exciting. And now, of course, nowadays we can use also artificial intelligence or virtual reality to deepen the language learning process. Most games and language learning are aimed at facilitating learning process. Of course, as I already said, they can use in school settings, but then they complement a teacher. So the purpose is not to replace or not to compare with a human, but to complement the teaching process. And this one is a great example of the key image method, Chinesey. I don't know if you have learned Chinese. This is the basics of it. So how we remember a Chinese site by making associations with animals and with different objects. So like Niu is a cow, and Yu rain, and Zhen person, Hua fire. So, and this is when I started learning, it was a book published and cards. This is the method for memorization, but currently everything is digitalized and even implemented into the games. Here, this key image method is a newbie Chinese game in Australia, developed by Redfern and Macquarie, and Second Life, developed by Yuan and Wang. Another excellent project is the Rensselaer Mandarin project by IBM. I will not show the video, although I left it. You can find it in YouTube. It is a huge product and project of the virtual reality. When you enter the room and you're immersed into China, you have different settings. Like here, he's in the park doing Tai Chi, but there is also another one in the restaurant selecting menus, and Panda is helping you. So I think this project is still not finished. This research by Alan here from 2019, it shared the intermediate step inside this project, but I think it is a huge and great initiative, and most probably requires a great amount of research to finish, or financial means to finish. So when I went in my review through the papers specifically on Chinese learning, I found a lot of mobile learning games developed, like tone words, for improving tone learning. As you know, in Chinese, there are 4 tones, like ma, ma, ma. So it is important that nowadays we can use technology for improving that. When I just started learning Chinese, there was just a teacher by my side, but now we can have different technologies on our mobile phones, on our WeChat program. This is the social app for communication in China, and actually outside China too. I'm still using it. It's more advanced than WhatsApp. It includes many great things like fintech also. If your card is selected, shopping and different marketing events or new subscriptions, and also mini games for learning Chinese and above. And as I already said, a lot of games were developed for concrete schools, like elementary schools in the US, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, for the experimental setting, to prove, for instance, if students are eager to communicate with their peers, how gaming are impacting their emotions, how the use of augmented reality and artificial intelligence is developing the game. And with different objectives, like Cho, they proved that games interactivity and immersion do not have impact on learning games. Some have proved that teachers are capable to use the simple technology to design and improve Chinese teaching process themselves. And this application, Memrise, I use myself. Actually, I was surprised that another very popular application, Duolingo, was not mentioned in the research I went through, but probably this is my next research to analyze. So this is the analysis of the papers on gaming. Let's move to intelligence tutoring system. I'm a big fan of it. Now intelligent tutoring systems are so advanced. You have a teacher here, and it can even read your emotions through camera, and it asks a question. This is an example of the auto tutor. And student response, and it can communicate with the teacher and try to answer as many times as he wishes. And at some point, the system will start scaffolding, will start giving hints to student. What I discovered in the research is that there are some papers analyzing Chinese room argument, the concept how artificial intelligence works, meaning that there could be a brain or a person inside the room, a native English speaker without any Chinese knowledge, and he's receiving answers in Chinese to the questions in Chinese from the outside of that room, and he follows the instructions of the people giving outside of the room, and in such a way he tries to process these questions and answer in Chinese without knowing the language. So this is basically the concept of AI working, right? Processing answers to the questions and the meaning is not understandable. There were a lot of research on both gaming and intelligence tutoring system. Some of them, like one, they used this concept in a flipped class settings. I think this is a great initiative to digitalize our education so that students have a chance to prepare with a system at home or outside the class, and then come to the class, just have interaction with their peers and teachers on the specific topic. And this is a lot of actually systems were devoted to the improving writing of the Chinese characters, which is great, and also analyzing interaction with teachers and peers during this process. And yeah, and emotions of the students. So main result of my research, as I already mentioned, I analyzed more than 7,000 of publications from Science Direct and Scopus, 29 publications in greater detail, but only those focusing on Chinese and only those whom I could get access. And very few, as you can see, we're focusing specifically on learning Chinese with the use of games, gamification techniques, or the intelligent tutoring systems. And here I mentioned all the games and systems described in my analyzed research, like Chinesey, Delivery Ghost, Escape the Room, this great Mandarin project, key image techniques, memories, mystery forest, and so on. I found that it could be practical for the Chinese learners. And so the majority of these publications were focusing on students' motivation. Several studies measured it quantitatively with different techniques, and many studies addressed self-efficacy, students' achievements, learning effectiveness, or satisfaction, but a very few measured them. Still, there are some. And only one study addressed all these characteristics, like motivation, self-efficacy, progress, effectiveness, and learning satisfaction. So as a result, I think we should reflect more as researchers how the different technology makes different impact on students, and broaden the list of characteristics, measure them more, and we could specifically analyze how these techniques can be best implemented for Chinese language teaching to foreigners, because among all these publications, there were no research done on how these techniques could benefit the Chinese language teaching, but I know that Chinese language teaching also become more and more digitalized, and this is the purpose of the Chinese government, and also Confucius Institute, since through the pandemics, and the Chinese learning also went online. And I think games, gamification, and intelligent tutoring system is the great way to improve it and to make it more interactive. And also, of course, another drawback of this study is that only 2 journals analyzed. So, of course, it would be great to include more studies from other databases, and not only in English, but also in Chinese, since my guess is that a lot of research is done in different languages other than English. So, final slide. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. And although I'm virtually in China, I'm present in Germany, in Düsseldorf, which is close to Aachen. I saw some colleagues today here, and you can find me on LinkedIn or in Instagram. My account is open, so please feel free to connect with me, and maybe we can make together great research and publications. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very happy weekend.